Jayden Daniels is without a doubt going to be one of the most fascinating stories to watch in 2024 and beyond. The Washington Commanders are taking a big swing with the Heisman winner, and this kind of feels like episode 2 of the Robert Griffin III experiment, only this time we're hoping for much longer results. Dual threat quarterbacks are now the preferred option in today's NFL. Standard pocket passers are a thing of the past, with defensive ends getting faster, more agile, and the game trending more towards allowing the quarterbacks to take off and run. That said, this hasn't worked out well for all of them, with Justin Fields proving to be one of the latest failed experiments in that department. So where does Jayden Daniels fit, and how is his game going to translate? I went back to watch the 2023 season, covering 5 games, all against SEC opponents. So these are the results, and feel free to jump in the comments throughout this video with your own thoughts and feelings about what we're able to see. If you like this kind of content, please do subscribe to the channel, but let's kick back, watch some Jayden Daniels film, and see what we can come up with. Let's roll the tape. Okay, let's start with the very obvious. Jayden Daniels had 1,250 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns on the ground in 2023, plus his 1,079 rushing yards and 11 TDs in 2022. He is a certified dual threat quarterback and will immediately be amongst the most dangerous QBs in the NFL when it comes to taking off downfield. Sometimes those were called as designed runs for Daniels, and I don't doubt we'll see more of this in Washington with Cliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator for the Commanders. Kyler Murray had 300 plus yards in each of his first 2 seasons with Cliff Kingsbury on designed runs with the Cardinals. Then, according to PFF, Jayden Daniels put up 529 yards in 2023 on designed runs, whether that be QB options or flat out put your foot in the ground and get upfield. LSU were not afraid to allow their quarterback to excel on the ground. On top of those 529 yards, he put up another 721 scrambling this past season on his way to the Heisman Trophy. Having surveyed the field, Daniels would often decide to pull the ball down and go, and the results were tremendous far more often than not. At least in the 5 games I studied, when he decided to burst out of a collapsing pocket and pick up yards, he was consistently finding the first down marker at the very least, if not picking up a whole lot more. On this one, the defensive end gives up the edge by crashing inside, which Daniels immediately recognizes, scrambling into the gap that he just left on the edge. Alabama had pretty good coverage on the LSU receivers for a lot of this matchup, but if they can't get their hands on the quarterback, it doesn't matter all that much. With nobody open here, he pulls it down and takes off, picking up a big gain without being touched. Same thing here, only this time Dallas Turner destroys the pass play by immediately winning against the LSU tackle. Daniels has to act, slipping out of the tackle and scrambling, turning what could have been a sack for Dallas Turner into a 45+ yard gain. Think about that. Again here, good coverage. Daniels takes his time, he doesn't panic, but eventually decides nobody is going to get free, seeing the huge space left in the middle of the field, and he goes. And again here, battling with Dallas Turner, putting pressure on him, Daniels spins him once, cuts back inside, and then it's foot in the ground, on the gas, and get on your horse. And he's gone. Florida had the same issues as Alabama. This first one was a designed run from the 10, but watch how Daniels motions the tight end, shifting the entire defense over. They don't know it yet, but they just shot themselves in the foot. Daniels then takes the option and exploits the space left by the defense, and with only one defender to beat, he just wins in a foot race. The result is a 90-yard touchdown, and I would say that any quarterback that's capable of doing that is going to be pretty valuable. But it's not just the designed runs. If you don't get pressure on him, he will torch you. This one is just him taking his time before deciding to run, and again, it results in a huge gain. Then here, same thing, very little pressure, nobody open, so he shoots straight up the middle. He jukes one defender, runs right between 2 more, and then gets a block from a teammate on the last one to turn what was a nothing play into a touchdown. If you want to talk about explosive playmaking from your quarterback, there's plenty of it here. Now, while we're on the subject of scrambling, Jayden Daniels has got to learn to slide and avoid taking unnecessary hits. In 2023, Anthony Richardson lasted 4 games before he was ruled out the rest of the year with a shoulder injury. Richardson is also 30 pounds heavier than Jayden Daniels, who often treats his body like a pinball between defenders. Commanders fans, this might get frustrating if he doesn't cut it out quickly. When I build these videos, I categorize each clip into a file with a subheading. This subheading is called Slide, all in capital letters with 6 exclamation marks, and there are way too many clips within that file. Sometimes he was just getting popped by a defensive lineman. Okay, on these he's just running into a wall, that's not necessarily his fault. He's especially reckless down by the goal line, which is when scrambling quarterbacks often get hurt because they're just a yard or 2 away from scoring and they feel that they can get it. Anthony Richardson did that, and Carson Wentz lost the rest of his season the year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Same thing here against Ole Miss. It's a good run, don't get me wrong, but he ends up twisted up pretty badly, taking more damage short of the goal line. On this one, he does score, but again, you can just sort of see how little he cares for his own safety in doing so. So is that a bad thing? I don't know. Like, if you're a Commanders fan, are you good with this if the result is a score? I know this is football, it's a physical game, but surely you would want him to protect himself a little bit. Let me know. This one's actually a great scramble, and he does a good job to evade pressure, but then he's cutting back inside and eventually ends up taking a big hit from a bearing down defender. And then here, he's just jumping through traffic. Stop it. He does it again here against Auburn. He's really got to cut out. Here he tries to juke the downhill defender and gets flattened in the process. This is a pretty ugly one. And then here he's getting twisted up in the backfield again, and maybe he just needs to go down. But this is the worst one of all of them. Again, great scramble, but he tries to do too much, and I'm not sure he ever sees this defender come down and lay him out. The ball goes flying, and so does Jayden Daniels. This one reminded me of that time that Sean Taylor buried the punter in the Pro Bowl game. Now, all of that said, I do have good news. He does know how to do it. This clip was titled "Finally," again, all in capital letters, because he doesn't do it nearly enough. He can slide, and he will need to far more often if he wants to have a long career in the league. Now, while he has a few issues going down before he gets hit, to say the least, Daniels does have a really good feel for the pressure in the backfield and how to evade it. He's really tough to bring down, and any sacks came on a group effort with the pocket collapsing around him on all sides. If you get around the edge, Daniels will feel it and then climb the pocket, often scrambling through the gap. Same again here against Alabama, who only sacked him once despite getting consistent pressure in this game and the performance of Dallas Turner. So yes, he reads the game really well from a pass rush perspective and knows when it's time to cut his losses and take off running. He just needs to finish that run before a safety or a linebacker finishes it for him. Now, oftentimes that sense of pressure allows him to move into space and throw on the run, and it's this composure and confidence to do so that is one of the things I really like about his transition to the NFL. If he can quickly get on the same page as his receivers in Washington, the sky is the limit for plays like these, extending plays and getting outside of the pocket before throwing downfield. It's really effective, and on this one, he rolls out right immediately on the snap before finding this completion downfield. These plays are nice and something Washington should deploy for him in the league. I love the rollout here for the completion to Malik Neighbors, who ends up wide open again for a big gain down the right sideline. Again, this is the sort of thing that I would love to see more of in the NFL. However, I do feel there were a few plays where he hesitated on throwing to an open man and instead chose to run, almost like he feels more comfortable scrambling than he does trying to throw into a tight window or against coverage. His receiver is open here on the out route, and Jayden Daniels is looking right at it. Instead, he pulls it down and runs. In the NFL, you have to throw that. That's as open as it's going to get, and that does worry me just a little. Same here against Ole Miss. He's reading the left side, and okay, nobody is quite open, but his backside receiver is coming wide open over the middle, but Daniels opts to take off before he looks at it. Now, this one kind of bothered me, but he got away with it because he scrambled to the 10. However, if we take it back to the play, he's got not one, but two receivers wide open in the middle of the field, both beyond the first down marker, both would move the chains. So my worry here is, what is he hoping to see that would mean he actually throws the ball if to him that's not open? Neighbors is literally waving at him. Again here, he's looking at his wide receiver coming open on the backside. An NFL quarterback can fit that between those two defenders for an easy completion. He looks at it, decides against it, and scrambles. Same thing here, Neighbors is open between coverage on the corner route. Sometimes I felt the anticipation throws were lacking, almost like Daniels needs to see it open before he throws it. But again, in the league, I'd be hoping to see my quarterback throw that football out there. Now, I do feel like I've been a little critical so far, so let's get into what he's great at, throwing the football, and some of his most impressive plays of the 2023 season. When it comes to throwing the football, Jayden Daniels has a really nice release. He can really rip it, as seen here throwing from the opposite hash to a comeback route for Brian Thomas. The release comes over the shoulder, his throws have great zip on them, and if he chooses to let it go, he certainly has the zip on the ball to fit it into a tight window. LSU made a lot of plays getting the ball out fast. On some of these, it's a catch and release off the snap, and Daniels has no problem with that when he knows where he's going with the ball pre-snap. Forget comparing him to Lamar as a dual threat. The two have a very similar release, with very little wasted motion, getting the ball out fast, even on the deeper routes. These two can throw the football downfield effortlessly, it comes out quick, the throwing motion, very similar. Daniels gets it out quick on throws underneath, and here's another one with Daniels immediately rolling out before finding Neighbors, who takes off for a big gain. Same thing on quick slants like this one here to Malik Neighbors, but more than anything, the Tigers depend on comeback routes to move the chains and pick up momentum in short yardage. There were countless comeback routes on film, and interestingly, far more of these than there were quick slants, crossing routes, or mesh concepts over the middle. In fact, I saw very little of that in the 5 games I watched, which leads me to believe it wasn't a big part of their offensive philosophy. Daniels will, however, need to know how to do that in the pros, perhaps not primarily, but at least more often than he was used to in college. There were some incompletions in making those window throws here, some of it timing, some of it was more ball placement, and again, a little hesitation creeping into the picture. With Jayden Daniels playing quarterback, you better have a good rush. The teams in the NFL who struggle to get pressure will find themselves struggling to contain the young QB. The threat he poses to take off running is a major factor here, but given time, he can either opt to do that or sit very patiently in the pocket to find an open receiver. Let me make one thing clear. He never panics. Even when the throws are maybe just a touch offline sometimes, it isn't because he rushes his mechanics at all. He's very calm, very composed in the pocket, and never shows signs of anything erratic. Even when he takes off running, it's with purpose, but without any sort of panic. Now, while there are other things that perhaps he needs to tidy up, his composure, confidence, and poise in the pocket is sensational. I was expecting to see a guy take off running as soon as physically possible, often throwing a play away to run before it's had time to develop. That is just not the case. He will survey the field for as long as he needs to before he runs, at least 95% of the time. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't see it right away when it came to layering the football and throwing over the middle, but the Tigers just didn't ask him to do it much in their offense. Now, I don't know how to perceive that. Is it bad that he didn't need to throw a lot of intermediate in-breaking routes? Could he now struggle with that as a pro? Maybe. But I also don't want to discredit him for something that wasn't really in the playbook all that much. Plus, when he did make those throws, they were really, really nicely done. This is a really well-executed pass on a corner route between the shallow corner and the deep defender. This is the sort of thing I wanted to see, and the Ole Miss game was a good one. I've got more on that later. Same thing here with patience to survey the field from left to right, coming back to his backside receiver on a post, resulting in a touchdown. That's an NFL level play, and again, Daniels made the whole thing look effortless. Great poise, great throw, touchdown. Here he is again layering the football on an in-breaking route against Auburn, hitting his receiver perfectly in stride to allow him to continue his motion, break a tackle, and get upfield. This is a nice throw on an out-breaking route underneath, showing a little of that anticipation that I was hoping to see. Another one here to get his read on Malik Neighbors over the middle, hitting him for a gain against Alabama. That's one of his best traits, I must say. He's tremendous at reading through his progressions on every play and doing so effectively. Yes, occasionally he looks just a touch hesitant, but his ability to process the game is very, very good. Here's another one up the seam to Neighbors, this time throwing it right over the head of the linebacker to hit his receiver in the chest. Great throw, and this one showed something a little different, with a deeper comeback route showing that Daniels can make those window throws between coverage. My favorite of the lot, though, was this one. Again, over the linebacker, in-breaking route to Neighbors, and a major gain. He was really on his game in this one, and I'll get to that a little later on. Daniels can make those throws. It just wasn't often that he was asked to, so perhaps we're actually undervaluing how good he is in this area with a really limited sample size. Now, one thing the Tigers did love to do was throw the fade, so if you have any doubts about Jayden Daniels knowing how to throw a fade to the corner of the end zone, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. They did it a ton, and Brian Thomas was on the receiving end of a lot of them. In fact, the Ole Miss game was ridiculous. They did it 4 times, 4 fades, 4 touchdowns, and the Rebels had no answer. Again, LSU preferred throwing these balls to the back corner or to the pylon in the end zone, and I had practically no film to watch throwing strikes over the middle for touchdowns. I can't really mark Daniels down for it. What he's been asked to do here, he's done incredibly well, but it is just something I noted about the style of offense that he was playing in. And just to reiterate, I only watched 5 games, so perhaps there is some of that in the others, but I just wanted to stay commenting on the sample size that I have in front of me. I mentioned his release and the arm talent earlier, but it shows up again on the deep ball. Much like Lamar, Jayden Daniels makes throwing deep balls look effortless, and again with very little wasted motion. He doesn't need to heave the ball deep, and this one traveled from the 30 to the opposition 15 on a rope. Shame it wasn't complete. This is one of the best throws he made in all the film I watched. It's absolutely perfect, with Brian Thomas getting behind the defense before breaking in. Daniels lays it out over the top, 50 yards in the air for a touchdown, dropping it right in the bucket. You can't ask for much more on a throw like that. Same again here. It's in stride, Neighbors streaks open over the middle, and it's an easy touchdown. I don't think I saw a receiver have to come back for the ball on any of his deep throws, which is a huge plus. This one's another 50-yard throw with relative ease. Here he is again throwing that fade with perfect execution for a touchdown against Mississippi State, and it just looks like he knew that that was good the moment he let it go. But this one's even better, taking a hit as he throws it, but still stepping into his throw and producing an absolute dime for another TD. Again here, another 50-yard beauty, and that thing's got some zip on it. It doesn't hang in the air, it's on target. He's really good in these situations, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of that in the NFL. Daniels threw some dimes from the pocket, so if you have any friends that are suggesting that Jayden Daniels is just another running back playing the wrong position, send them this segment of the video. He can stand in there quite comfortably and produce throws like this with ease. That is on a rope. He throws his receiver open deep and picks up another 50-yard gain because of it. Same thing here, again dicing up Florida for a chunk gain down the near sideline, and this one throwing between coverage to get his man open. Extremely well placed football. He throws a strike here against very tight coverage to produce a touchdown over the middle, so again, though it didn't happen often, there's a good chance that he can still do it. We just haven't seen all that much of it. And again here with the in-breaking route, this time against tight man coverage, but still fitting the football in there for a completion and a first down. Honestly, if you want to see the very best of Jayden Daniels, and I hinted at this earlier in the video, I would recommend this game against Ole Miss. Not only is it a sensationally appealing uniform matchup, but Daniels put on a clinic, picking apart the Rebels' defense throughout this game. Now, for most of it, they were playing from behind, with the Rebels putting up 21 points in the first quarter. Very little defense was played, and yes, LSU lost this game, but you can't ask your quarterback to do much more than put up 414 passing yards and 4 touchdowns with another 99 rushing yards on the ground and a 5th TD. Daniels was playing near perfect football in this game, making incredible throw after incredible throw and putting together scoring drives for fun just to keep his team in the game. It was almost flawless execution, and the game you want to see as a Commanders fan hoping to see the best of Jayden Daniels this coming season and beyond. My concerns are few, but in all of these videos I try to be optimistic yet honest. There were a few where he just missed his man, and on this one he makes the wrong read with a wide open receiver coming over the middle, instead opting to throw into double coverage, risking a turnover. Now again, that is a tad harsh because in the games I watched, I saw maybe 2 risky footballs thrown. He gives his receivers a chance and very, very rarely makes a bad read throwing into coverage. Now, this one's not necessarily a knock, but just more unknown. One of my questions is, can he throw his guys open when they shut down the scramble? I'm talking tight man coverage situations against the league's better defenses with a scheme designed to keep Daniels in the pocket and force him to win against man press. The answer might be a resounding yes, and I'll be pleased if it is, but I want to see it out on the field before I make that call either way. I think because we didn't see much of him throwing over the middle, moving the chains between the numbers, it's difficult to judge, but there were a couple of the easier throws that were slightly off target, and it just forced me to kind of raise the question. The other thing is throwing with anticipation. I showed this clip earlier in the video, but that's open and you got to throw it out there. He has the arm strength to do so throw it out in front, take the defender out of the play and pick up the yardage. In my mind, he could have thrown this one too on the quick out, throwing it low and away for a touchdown just over the line. Again, maybe it's overly critical, but just worth talking about. I know he does get the touchdown, but in the NFL, you're not going to have that much time. So if that option is open to go to first, maybe he should have gone for it. Now here he eventually hits this tight end over the middle, but it takes him a while to find it. And it didn't help that it was dropped when it got there. Obviously, that's not Jayden Daniels' fault. This one, anticipate the throw and put it out there for neighbors. I do think this one should have been thrown, and I think he'll need to get comfortable with tighter windows and throwing with more anticipation as a pro in the NFL. Ultimately, this is a remarkably explosive quarterback who can bury a defense both on the ground and with his arm talent. Coming out of college with plenty of experience and a Heisman Trophy in his hand, I don't know that there's much more you could ask for in a rookie quarterback. Is it perfect? Not quite, but it's pretty darn satisfying to watch a lot of the time, and Washington fans should be very excited to watch it unfold. His rookie year is going to be a movie. He's going to play, he's going to show NFL fans what he's capable of, and we could be talking about a Rookie of the Year candidate very quickly if he starts putting up the numbers we've gotten used to seeing at LSU. The one and only thing that I will say is please, just freaking slide. Thank you for watching, I appreciate you, and as always, my question to you is, who should we study next?